All right, this is going to be the last video. If you've opted to watch this today, great. If not, that's fine too. And we're talking about the different types of law. Now, there's two types of law. There's criminal law. This is stuff that's covered by the Fifth and Sixth Amendments. And then there's civil law. This is covered by the Fifth and Seventh Amendments. And we're going to talk about some of the things that make them unique and some of the things that they have in common. So, for instance, when we're looking at criminal law, number one, criminal law is a crime committed against society. So these would be crimes like, breaking and entering. You're dealing with murder, you're dealing with manslaughter. In these legal cases, you see them listed as the city of Ozark versus so and so, or the state of Missouri versus so and so, or the United States government versus so and so. And so, what it's saying is, you have done something that we as a society has deemed to have been in violation of our law. You've committed a crime against society. And so now you have opened yourself up to legal repercussions, including having to pay fines to the governments and prison time. And ultimately, if you were in states that allow the death penalty, even it could extend up to that. So that's what we're talking about with criminal law. Crimes committed against society. Now, if we're dealing with civil law, we're dealing with crimes committed against a specific person. Now, this gets a little confusing because can your criminal event be against a specific person? Yes. There needs to be some victim somewhere for it to really be breaking a law. Civil law takes place where you're seeking, instead of punishment on the government's behalf, you want the punishment to benefit the victim of the crime. So these are going to be your lawsuits. These are going to be cases like restraining orders. That would be civil law. Because it doesn't become a criminal law unless you break the restraining order. So civil law are going to be cases where a person feels like their rights have been violated by another person and are seeking compensation for that violation, or they are seeking affirmation from a court saying, yes, you do have that right. This person needs to stop. So that's kind of the difference between these two types of law, is that one is looking at, hey, you have violated something that we as a society has said you cannot do. The other one is saying, hey, you have violated an individual in a way that they need to be compensated for. I mentioned the OJ trial in the amendment video. This is a really good example. In the criminal case, OJ was found not guilty. He was found to have not committed a crime against our society. He was found not guilty. There was insufficient evidence to prove his guilt. However, when the families of the two people who were killed brought OJ to court, he was found responsible for their deaths in the civil trial. And so he had to pay money to the families of those two victims. Now, this doesn't count as double jeopardy because one is talking about, did he break a society law, versus was he responsible for the violation of someone's rights? So that's kind of the difference. So he was found not guilty criminally. He was found guilty in civil court. So criminal law, generally the shorthand to remember this is the one that sends you to prison. All right. This is where You see it on movies after someone does something wrong. They do a criminal court proceeding. Civil law is lawsuits and things like that. This is much more closely tied to daytime Judge Judy type law. Not to say that Judge Judy is a judge in real life and that she's an active civil justice. That's not the case. But that's the style of law that they're dealing with. So that's kind of the difference between these two. Now, how are they the same? Well, some of the ways that they're the same, you have trial by jury. You're guaranteed to have it go fair and fast. You are guaranteed to not have to testify against yourself. You are guaranteed that you are going to be protected from unlawful accusation. So that's really what we're looking at is while there are clear differences between these two, the Fifth, Sixth, and Seventh Amendments draw a lot of things here into the center section of, look, these are things that you definitely are protected on because you get trial by jury, whether it's civil or criminal. You get to go before a judge and make your case. You can't, they have to go through a legal process. They can't just drive up and say, oh, you owe me $1 million because you ran over my cat. No, that's not how it works. You have to go through the legal process. And it was really insightful of the founding fathers to set up the protections for both of these because it would be really simple to set one up for criminal law and be like, oh, yeah, obviously we want to protect people in that particular case and leave open the whole civil law thing because, you can have that oversight. But having protections for citizens on both of these types of law is very important to having a society that functions successfully.